Hey, what is up? It is Follow Up Media. I am the CEO, Christian Lee, my co host, Riley Alston. We today are not only going to discuss a topic that I'm so passionate about because I am an audio producer, I've been one for 15 years, but also because one of our strategic partners in one of Follow Up Media's services has joined us today, and that is music composer extraordinaire, Mark Wolf.
Hey, how you doing?
Man,
What's happening?
fantastic, man.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, I want to give a little backstory about Mark and how this relationship even started was that I was dealing with somebody who used to be a composer. They had a back catalog, but they weren't actively working in the business. And I actually, to be honest with you, I had to fire his wife who was working for me. And I think that killed the
Yeah.
relationship. And he wasn't very responsive. And in this industry, this person had a job and they didn't even have equipment anymore. They didn't have, yeah. So there were red flags, big car dealership size red flags from the beginning. But that being said, so after I had to fire his wife, which made it really awkward conversation, I started like, shit, Follow Up Media needs a music composer. And so I started while I was at the soccer field, Riley, doing my work in the evening. I Googled, I got a few names of composers and I started kind of going down the list. And I think Mark was probably the third one and he didn't answer. I left a message and then he called back about 30 minutes later. And we've been talking for 8, 9, 10 months now, or something like that. And you know, having a music composer that can assist with our client's sonic identity is huge. And a lot of businesses that we're finding, still are not putting a lot of emphasis and value on a sonic logo, their sonic branding. And just like a lot of companies that you call, Riley, are not putting emphasis or even effort into their marketing, whether it be content,
Yeah.
So today we are going to talk about sonic branding, sonic logos, sonic identities, and just, what is a sonic logo, Riley?
Sonic logo is a short, memorable sound associated with the brand. So, for instance, you hear the Netflix logo, the ta-dum. You're going to hear that even if you're downstairs in your basement, you hear that on the loud TV, you hear the bass of it, you're going to remember that. You're going to know that one of your kids or wife or whatever is watching Netflix.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't even have to see the visual anymore, but you do see the visual when you hear it. Like you can picture exactly. And I will tell you something. That Netflix logo comes in so hot.
Yeah.
Even if the volume is low, I mean, it sometimes, if you're not expecting it, it'll like scare me coming out of the blue.
Yeah.
But that is a sonic logo. And I would imagine when Netflix started, even though they were a startup at the time and they were just mailing out DVDs, you remember that, Mark?
Oh, but dude, I can tell you a little bit more history about Netflix, but I know about it,
Well, I want to hear that actually, but can just imagine, even as a startup, I wonder what they had to pay for that Sonic logo that they're using today.
You know who's I can't remember the name verbatim, but they are related. The founder is related to Edward Bernays, who is the father of propaganda in America and the Western, where Edward Bernays was the nephew of Sigmund Freud, who took all of his information about studying human nature, and then his nephew took that and used propaganda back in the early 20s and convinced women that smoking was a sign of feminine strength and that it was a sign of, because you remember things were way different back then. We didn't even have a right to
You
vote.
think?
But but it's just kind of crazy because when we talking about sonic branding and identity and how important it really is to the whole process now people are just beginning to figure this out. But like you said, Netflix #1. I would never people don't even believe how deep that goes, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even know
That is you want.
And also, let's look at Sonic branding as, and you and I have talked about this kind of, Mark, as a future initiative, which we can pull off actually, which is when you go into a Nordstrom's, the music that you hear at that Nordstrom's is the same music you'll hear across the country at that Nordstrom's.
Right.
So it could be down to the playlists of music.
Oh, can I interject on something?
Absolutely.
On that point. I just learned this, but your idea is not unheard of, because what they're doing now, these companies are doing now, is they're taking the data, say, from all of these people. So say your phone, okay? So your phone and all these websites and all. So all of this data is being sent to these marketing agencies, right? So then they Sonic branding companies are getting it to where, like you were just saying in the beginning, when you hear the, boom for the Netflix, or maybe the McDonald's. Remember McDonald's 2003? They had a competition in 2003, and some dude won. It was ba-dum bum bum bum. Simple. And they took that, and that is a worldwide thing. But what these companies are doing now, they're taking it with your data that you can mix with Spotify and AI, to where when you get into your car, say you get into your a Ford F-150, and they know you're going on a road trip, they'll have that playlist in your background of country music or whatever you dig that gets you in there. Or maybe you're tired and you've been complaining online and you've been talking, man, I just need to get home. That'll set up in your car to when you get in the car, it'll be already set to your mood. Isn't that bizarre?
I can't wait to hear Adele.
Yeah.
Oh, like I can't wait for them to play Adele
Yeah.
from the other side when I get in the car. Hello from the other side.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to, which all these things are great, and it's like there are a few reasons why you don't want to use royalty free. Now,
No.
with music subscriptions, you could go, oh, I can pay, $30 and use this song for our backtrack. But, there's a reason why you're either paying $30 and it's royalty free. Anybody can use it. They're licensing it out 10,000 times potentially. And good for them, the people who made it, the composer that made that, hopefully. But having something that is aligned with your brand, that in 4 or 5 notes, if we're talking about a logo, a jingle's a little longer, maybe the bed that's underneath, even a longer form piece of content, but all that's part of the package, right? It's the full suite, right? It's not one outfit, it's your wardrobe for your brand. It's your wardrobe of music. It's the audio wardrobe of your brand. And it's really important because, just like you said, Mark, that McDonald's jingle evokes just how little you get of it. It evokes emotion, whether it's, it doesn't take very many notes to imply or plant that seed of authoritative, sincere, trustworthy, demonic, whatever it is. You only need a few notes and you get a feeling.
Exactly.
Or humans process sound faster than visuals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The speed of sound is something,
And it's tied into your memory, just like when, smells and stuff, so this is where, it gets into this craziness, because if I can address to what you just were talking about. So for instance, like I did a project where it was I can't go into the name, but I can tell you a little bit about it. We'll just call it this client, right? And they had purchased a very familiar telephone number. And it was something like 8888888 or something. Like they're allowed to use this in their area, and it was some kind of company. And I was working with them, not just making them a jingle or nothing like that, but But what we're talking about is, so when I go to create a piece of music for them, we sit down and we're looking at what is the image that you're trying to get across? Who are you reaching out to? What is all of this comes into play? There, we're looking at the data of your demographic. What is the age group? What kind of, what do they like to buy and eat? And then you put all this stuff in together and you want to reach those people. So then you make this song. Let's just call it a song. It's a minute and a half, maybe 2 minute long. But out of that 2 minutes, you can extrapolate a 5 second thing, or a 4 note, ba-dum bum bum bum, or Nokia had a 13 note guitar thing, remember? Or even when you turn on your Windows.
I don't even remember that, but I mean, like 13 notes. I'm like, man, they went for the overkill. No.
Oh yeah, but then you can take. So what I'm saying is, when we provide music with you guys, like, I'm providing you guys a song that they could use in any marketing campaign anywhere. Because let's just say it's like, you want to be Manila. It's not like taste like Manila, but could fit in a couple of different genres and couple of different areas, and then out of that, you can take a simple couple of bing dongs or a couple of notes out of that, and then it's just the gift that keeps on giving. Look at McDonald's, 2003, and yet that, and you can walk in anywhere and like, oh, and when you're talking about why seems to get louder, is because when I was working as a master control operator in a couple of different TV studios. One was in Knoxville, another one was in Indiana. What they do on the commercials is they boost the volume to get your attention. That's why the TV seems loud when you're watching the commercials, and then goes back down to when because they're trying to get your attention. And so when you've got all of that going with a simple little melody that's da 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 da, you're thinking, man, I'm gonna go get me some hamburgers. Man, I'm gonna go to
Right.
McDonald's.
Well, and you want to go, I'm loving it. And
Yeah,
that,
right.
yeah,
That
that
guy there was a lot, and see, just if I say one last thing about this, is it's very important now in the time that we live in with all this technology. If you've got a brand and you want to reach out, you're gonna have to pull out something special. And most people don't fully understand it. Maybe, yeah, they might be shelling out a little bit of bread to do something like this, that they might think, this doesn't make sense. But don't, the long-term effects is total brand recognition, money in the bank. You're getting free advertise because it's in people's heads.
totally. And that goes right along with, Riley's initiative and Follow Up Media's kind of like core outreach program, and it's identifying businesses,
Exactly.
it's reaching out to them and really trying to, help them if they want help, if they realize they need help, which if no one realizes that, if they don't realize they need help, you can't help them. Right.
No,
But,
right.
and, expand their digital footprint. Now, this is a component that is of high value. Now, if you're a newer company coming out and you're just now starting to spend money just in creating content itself, I get there's going to be a little bit of more hesitancy to invest thousands upon thousands of dollars in your sonic image. But as you get rolling, and if you have the money, it's definitely worth the investment. It will help with brand recognition. And that is if you plan on your brand to be around for the long haul.
Yeah.
McDonald's will outlive us all, right? That
Right.
company, even though the founders and the guy that took over and ripped the other people off, or whatever that story is, but McDonald's has been around since before I can remember. I mean, they're older than me, so, and they're probably going to outlive us all. And that jingle, while it might evolve as the times evolve, they will make that heavy investment because they want that recall.
I'm just excited because this is what we're talking about. Listen, I've been a small business owner. I'm still a small business owner, right?
Not for long, buddy.
No. But you dig what I'm saying? You
No,
dig what I'm
totally.
saying?
Me too.
But when I'm listening to you say, it just dawned on me, man, that if you as a business owner, right, and you're looking at starting a business, or maybe you've already got your business where you're already at a certain level or whatever, and Sonic Brandon is a tool like your marquee sign. It's gonna like you're saying it. If you look at it not like, man, I don't got the, because I know how it is. Times are tight. You don't want to spend for advertising, but let me tell you something. You start getting in this and the now, because you cannot create this with AI. AI cannot create a custom thing. Now it can create music to a degree, but it's not. And one other thing, if I may say something in regards to royalty free and all this stuff, you know, I'm a member of ASCAP. I've been for 20 years, and they are very strict. Now, I remember back in 2010, right around that time, because when I was working with MoFilm providing as a music supervisor for them. We were doing music for Coachella and all these festivals, man, South by Southwest, all these things.
Awesome.
But what I'm saying is, if you'll recall that you would get a message on your email. They'll say, hey, for $500, we can boost your likes or whatever, and we'll get you up there, and everybody would be like, oh yeah. And then all of a sudden there'd be some obscure person with a song that sucks that got about 10,000 views, and people would be like, well, this is BS, because right, we did this is no way is 10,000 people buying this nonsense. The thing of it, why I bring it up is because some people think that they can download something from royalty free, do a little tweak thing by it, maybe take some other music and tweak it. But the technology now with AI, our wave files are like fingerprints. You know what I'm saying? And there's no way, and there's AI is actively monitoring. And so if you start using some kind of corrupted music files for your brand, you dig what I'm saying? What's that going to be? You're going to be bad taste in everybody's mouth. They're going to come down. They're going to tell you to take the music down. You're not going to have your music available.
Well, and if you're big enough,
True.
they're going to come after you for money on every person who heard it. If they can, and they'll do that with radio, or podcasts. Like if you've got millions of followers, and granted, for some businesses, they'll probably never have that, but that doesn't mean
Right.
your customer base is small. You could still be bankrolling, but you don't want to be hit with those charges. And why would you want something that you could literally press play on a video on YouTube and it's been used 50,000 times?
Yeah, and that's the thing. And then if you're let's just say, somebody might be watching this, and they might, maybe have a small doctor's office, or maybe a small legal practice, whatever the case. And it's small in comparison to, say, Unilever, $1 billion company that I have provided music for in the past, right? But the point of it is that when you sit there and you say, but how can that affect me? But you have customers all the time, lifelong customers. You put this music on hold, you put this music in your store, you put it on your website, you put it on your TV commercials. It's everywhere. Next thing you know, if people are singing it, hey, did you see lawyer so and so? Look at how you drive down the street. Who's that guy where we live in Atlanta? You got a strong arm of the law.
Oh, strong
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're that
John Foy. This is a plug for you, John. So maybe you want to sponsor the Follow Up Media podcast, right? Or maybe you want a new Sonic Fresh logo.
100%.
And
Never know.
And it's really cool too, because and I think it gets back to the point of companies who are not doing marketing and creating content. Well, they have no need for a Sonic logo, because they're not creating anything except for their voicemail message, which I doubt that that's even advanced enough where they have any type of music on hold, but which we don't want them anyway. We want people that are wanting to expand their digital real estate, online presence through using value added content, content that educates, shows brand awareness, basically raises attention. Hey, we're over here, use us instead of these other 1,000 idiots that are out there. What separates your company and your brand from 900 other brands?
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you're in the service business, if you're in real estate or you're a financial advisor, you are selling products, but you also are selling a service. And there are, at a place where for a couple of months, for an investment, not for a financial advisor or an attorney, you have to take a lot of tests, and there is a substantial investment, but still, you have to be able to brand your company, for whether it's injury, whether it's malpractice, whether it's you're beating old ladies at senior citizen homes, whatever it is, you need to stand apart. And that is by creating content, which is what we do through podcast and video, that's aligned, that educates your audience, but also, as we're talking about today, using audio, customized, brand aligned, designed audio for your business that evokes emotion, that triggers.
True.
We want it to be triggering. We want people to weep when they hear it. I don't know why, but now I'm just weeping.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
It's true. If I could elaborate on what you said a little bit.
please, Mark. That's why you're here, is to make me sound smarter.
No, right. No, because you're on the trail. You're on the trail.
I like it.
So I want to give you a brief story about how I kind of got into this, but not how I got into it, but you'll understand. So bear with me. So years ago, I got an email. I make a lot of music. I'm going to talk to two different people in the story. Okay. One is the person that thinks that maybe they can't do it. One time I had a person take a piece of my music, right? Which I didn't even know, right? I didn't even know that they took it. I mean, it was just somebody that took it off the internet, They were having a contest in a different foreign country, unbeknownst to me, and they won. Okay. And so in order for them to move forward, how they made this music video, they made a beautiful, it was a small time guy made a beautiful video about a little guy making love letters, a little girl, whatever it was. And then it was he grew up and he was the postman, and, they took my music, right? And unbeknownst to this guy, he had over like 100 million views, right?
What?
And yeah, dude, listen. And it's for the government of Italy, man. It's for their postal service.
Oh, wow.
So here I took a song that I just created that this one kid used, and I won him. I got money from it. You know what I'm saying? I got my money from it. But
How much? No, I'm just, I'm totally joking. You don't have to disclose
I'm
that.
not gonna take.
No.
No, I'm not gonna. But what I'm saying is that when sometimes things like this happen, where but the government of Italy was using this music of mine that had no words. But it was tied into this scene of heart pulling. You dig what I'm saying? To where the whole country said, "Hell yeah, we like that. We want to use it in our advertising." So
Do they still use it today?
I'd have to look it up. This was around 2010, 2000. This is what I was leading into. I was segueing into what would make follow-up media and all this, what would be, who are we and who am I, and what do we bring to the table? And I can tell you one thing, we're going to bring you years of experience, man. Okay. So like I've been making music, you know, I'm 56 years old right now, and I've been making music since I was a teenager, but I got into full time making music for a living back in 2008, when the economy collapsed. But in 2000, from 2000 to 2008, I was like part time making songs, and recording them at home. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Learning how to do the skill, being this and that. I could my problem is I love to talk, so I have to stay focused. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm getting at is, I went from doing that. I traveled all around the United States, playing my guitar, bringing music to people, going into nursing homes and sometimes into prisons, and bringing good news. But
That's
in
awesome.
2008, 2000, when I went to go full time, right, and it started like total really, it was really cool. It wasn't even through music. It was somebody wanted to buy a piece of art that I made, a picture that I made, and it was for a TV show, and I said, really, you want to buy, this is, you got to remember the times of the internet, how it was. Remember, everybody had those Nextel flip phones. Remember that? That's another one.
He don't know. Riley doesn't know that. He doesn't know about a flip phone or a rotary or a
My first phone was a flip phone, and then very soon after that,
bragger. Sorry,
No,
Mark.
no, that's cool. So it was during that time. So, anyways, so I provided the material for this pilot TV show. It was for CBS for something. It was some kind of show about a radio station, and they needed some graphics, and and they don't want to pay the big money for like Led Zeppelin or Van Morrison, or
Of course.
they want to just give you a couple $100. That's cool, but it gets it opens up the door. Well, anyways, I get this phone call from some dude out in England, and that opens up the door. Where's MoFilm? And this is their people. This is back when Riley be like, "What?" But it was like a new thing to have video on your phone. Remember, everybody
Yeah.
was like, "Wow!" So what this company did, I can tell you how their marketing was wonderful, because anybody that had a phone could go ahead and be making video or commercial for said product. So Unilever would get involved or whatever. They would go to Coca-Cola and say, look, instead of spending 100,000 or whatever, $1 million on doing this, why don't we just open it up? We'll have a 3-tiered thing, whatever. And anybody that has a phone could make it, but you got to use the logos of your brand. You know what I mean? Just whatever the context is, and they had to use music, and I was the music supervisor. So
That's
and
awesome.
so then so I ended up doing a lot of things, but that led into me doing. I was providing music for shows like Say Yes to the Dress, the Golf Channel, whatever, New York Inc., American Pickers, Pawn Stars, the NFL, Microsoft, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Adobe. I've worked for all these,
Right.
as clients provide music for a lot of TV shows that probably that you guys work with.
Uh-huh.
So I have all this experience as far as that goes, is how to create, I am a musician, multi-instrumentalist, but I also work with a lot of other people, and I've been in this industry for some time. Now, that's why you guys, we join together, we bring this cohesion, or we can sit down with people,
Yep.
right? You can sit down and explain, say, because it's like we talked about earlier, it's very important to have that. Imagine that you can have it to where, because your client uses a certain app on their phone, right? That whenever they walk into your store or buy like this one is cool, I learned, but the VR glasses, Nike is paid for this, to where when you got your VR glasses, I don't have a pair, but when you're walking around and you see one of their emblems, automatically it opens up to a commercial. You start being familiarized with their brand and their sound and their
That's
thing.
awesome.
And it's all weird. And
It's
this,
smart.
so wouldn't you want to be as a brand or a person of trying to broaden your horizon? Maybe if you're a corporation, I mean, would you want to
Absolutely.
have fishing poles and everybody's head?
Yeah.
You know
Well,
what I'm
no,
saying?
it's as content creation, as more and more businesses adopt it,
Right.
it is setting the business up for
Exactly.
the long term. Now, that doesn't mean, as we always say, that doesn't mean there aren't short-term benefits. There's not short-term ROI. But if you want to sustain as a business, and hopefully you want your business to carry on, I would hope,
Oh, yeah.
beyond you to
For your children and your
yeah, your children, your grandchildren, but as you expand, and it might be a small business forever, and that's okay too, you know. But not every business grows to the point of enterprise level where you're now, not only is it making your family very wealthy, but you're also employing thousands and thousands of people, which now rely on the livelihood of the business in order to live their lives.
Well, think about like your doctor's office, and you have been there, and your kids go there, their kids go there. So you do see a lot of people.
Yeah, no,
And when you're talking about the the long run, think of it as like working out. You're eating horrible for 5 years straight. That's what you do. And then all of a sudden you want to go pay for a protein, you want to go pay for the gym membership. You're spending, investing all this money and then expecting a 3-week turnaround. Oh, I'm going to look.
you want Ozempic. So are you describing Ozempic?
But needless to say, for business owners, if you're doing the same thing for any kind of marketing initiative for years, what makes you think that it's going to change in 2 weeks? It is a long
It
run.
probably won't change in years if you don't change what you're doing. It's like, you know, the definition of insanity. And I know that saying's been beaten to death. Oh, doing the same thing over and over, expecting another result. Well, it's true though. You won't get any other result unless everyone else dies and you're the only one left. I mean, that would be like Bubba Gump shrimp. Like everyone else went away and they've got all the shrimp now. So, hey, Mark, let me ask you a question. I know you have helped between you and my other producer who handles kind of a, well, I like to call, he's got a role of like imaging. So he takes and works with Mark and myself and the client when we sit down and we say, okay, what's the brand? After asking a series of questions, who we're targeting, what is the emotion we're trying to evoke? And then we start, you know, things start coming together and we go back with the client. Yes, I like it. We tweak things. We might add some stuff. So it's really Mark laying down some notes or designing something through audio. And then a lot of times it'll go to Josh and Josh will kind of put the crunch on things or overlay it and tweak it. Can you play some digital Sonic logos? Do you have anything handy that you could whip up real quick maybe and just show how you play a little ditty out of nowhere?
So here's one where I took this one right here. This is a jingle thing.
Okay.
Not a jingle, but it was for a
I like that. That's like, hey, when I walk in the room, I want to hear that. It's in the arrays.
Yes, exactly, 100%.
Right.
You know, and another one was, now this is a totally different one. This would be like, you know, it brings out the basic, you know, law stuff, but you got different examples where you can take that little thing and twist it around to change it around, or we have like a simple little, just your basic. You think, but that would be, so you think to yourself, but I'm going to pay for it. But let me tell you, there's one other one here. I'm going to tell you this other one. You take this little brand, you're getting up in the morning, you're drinking your cup of coffee.
I can
think
see that.
about
Yeah, that's a commercial in the morning. I would hear that.
Or maybe you want to bring out something more of Southern flavor. We can break out.
That other one you just played really invoked, like for me, I saw waking up in the morning as to that's like the theme. Or going to the coffee pot.
Yeah.
And like opening the blinds and there's your neighbor standing there with no underwear. I'm just playing.
It does sound like that you would see on the TV screens kids playing in a Daisy.
Yeah, absolutely. And then a car crash.
Or fight a doctor because you will die with this medicine, and then it's like
So yeah, and here is your side effects. You might have hot dog finger, mud butt. I mean, any of those things.
That's crazy. But then, you know,
That's crazy. I know.
that's funny. Here's a different one. See. Something that, another type of style. You're cruising in your Cadillac or something. You're driving after a home.
Yeah, and I mean, like me, that could be a Cadillac.
This would be like for a tech startup, you know, like, or you could use it for, you know.
Or
Are you looking for a lawyer to help you?
yeah, or it could be for like a McAfee security,
Exactly.
like
Exactly. But I mean, I have what I was showing you. We can do pop oriented guitar, country, folk, indie. We can create orchestral pieces. We have access to thousands and thousands of musicians and other samples that we can create that you would have the absolute perfect. It would be based upon all the data of where you're aiming for and what you're trying to do. You will draw people.
Yeah.
It will be brand recognition. People will owe you. You know, you think about like when Bitcoin first came out, everybody laughed and said, "Oh, no," but I bet you wish you were the first person that maybe had that.
That's very true.
Now you'd be making bank.
And I think that's what makes you so powerful is that you had the insight on so many different, not just one genre of sound. It's everything under a big umbrella.
Yeah.
I think that's why you are a big impact.
I would love, I mean, if you're a brand out there and you want to look into getting more information about, follow-up media's process. It all starts with a consultation, reaching out at followupmedia.com. Mark, I know this we will definitely have a part 2 to this because we could really expand even more with like music libraries, playlists, and really, but I would encourage anybody to reach out at followupmedia.com. You can schedule a call, you can schedule a meeting on, through our virtual thing and just have a conversation. And we really have a sit down process where we get to know your brand, the people in it, the mission, your customers, and then we custom design a series of products, Sonic logo, the whole branding kit if needed. Some people just need a logo, but some people are going to need jingles, they're going to need beds, they're going to need pretty much a whole wardrobe of audio to wrap around all their content, long form, short form, the whole thing. And we can do that. We can custom create that for you with, Follow Up Media's composer, Mark Wolf.
Hey, can I just add one statement to this? Yeah.
I wish you would.
For somebody might, this is, I don't subscribe to a lot of this, but this does work, okay? Like we're talking, if you're a global brand or maybe you want to reach out to a certain region, I could make specific regional instruments using regional instruments in those regions to even impact that. You could take the same melody, let's just say ba da 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 da. I know it's McDonald's, but let's just say we create something special for you. Then you can play that in multiple varieties. Another one would be like if you were like, say, you're doing for nature, we can do it for you want to be eco-friendly. We can create a nature vibe sound where your sensories are just thinking it's incredible what you can do with so we can help you.
Yeah, man. And that's it. Well, Mark, thank you so much for your time, as always. And, this is actually the first time that, first time we've seen each other live. We've had a ton of conversations. And for people that are not in Georgia, Mark doesn't live tremendously far, like an hour and a half, right? Maybe
In Northeast Georgia, but
Yeah.
Athens.
Yeah. We're able to handle business through remote,
Oh yeah.
a lot of emails and a lot of things like that. But yeah, man, thank you again. This is an awesome episode and you have a ton of information and knowledge. We will be having you back on again to weigh in on some things and probably to showcase some of the work we're doing for some of our clients.
Yeah, you can check out my website, markallenwolf.com.
You can, or
All right, man.
reach out to some of his music is also embedded on Follow Up Media's website.
Very right. That's right. That's right.
All right, Mark, you have a good rest of your day, man. Go make some beautiful music.
Thank you, brother.
Later, brother.